You have been told that to manifest something, you have to see it first in your mind, and then wait for it to show up in your reality. But what if the quantum truth is the exact opposite? What if manifestation in its most powerful form does not start with the picture in your head, but with the version of you who would already be living it? And here is the twist: the quantum field does not respond to your desires, it responds to your state, and your state is not determined by what you want. It is determined by what you are being right now. This is where most people misunderstand the game. They try to think their way into a new reality, but in the quantum field, thinking is the slowest form of creation. Frequency comes first, thought comes second, action comes third. And most people are stuck trying to reverse engineer their life from action back to thought, while ignoring the frequency entirely. The quantum works backwards from what we are taught in the linear world. In the linear model, you set a goal, you plan, you act, and then eventually, you achieve. In the quantum model, you step into the being, you anchor into the vibration of already having it, and then the action and thought rearrange themselves around you in ways that defy logic. This is why sometimes you have worked for years towards something, and nothing happens, then one day you let go, you shift something inside, and suddenly the right people, opportunities, and ideas flood in. It is not luck, it is alignment, and alignment begins in reverse. Most people try to fix their outer world to feel different inside, but in the quantum field, you have to feel different inside first to shift the outer world. Think of it like a mirror. If you wait for the reflection to smile before you smile, you will be waiting forever. The reflection only changes when you change first, but here is the key. In quantum manifestation, the smile is not forced, it is not pretending, it is embodying the state as if it is already fact. And this is where the backwards nature of it becomes so powerful, because when you stop chasing outcomes and start embodying states, your attachment drops, and when attachment drops, resistance drops, and when resistance drops, the field moves instantly. The quantum field is like a fluid, constantly rearranging itself around the most coherent signal. Coherence means your thoughts, emotions, and actions are not contradicting each other. If you want abundance but are broadcasting lack in your emotions, the field receives static, not a clear request. If you want love but are vibrating fear of rejection, you are sending two signals at once, and the field does not know which to mirror. But when your being matches the reality you claim you want, the field has no choice but to align to it. It is law. This is why it works backwards. Because in the quantum, the cause is your state, and the effect is your reality. In the old model, you wait for the effect to change the cause. In the quantum, you become the cause first and watch the effect reshape around you. The trick is that becoming is not pretending, becoming is remembering. In the quantum sense, all realities already exist. Every possible version of you is already real somewhere in the infinite field, and manifestation is not creating from nothing, it is tuning yourself to the version of you who already lives that outcome. This is why it feels backwards, because from the linear mind, you think you have to earn it, get to it, reach it, but in the quantum, you just match it. Imagine the radio analogy. If you want to hear a certain song, you do not run to the radio station and beg them to play it. You simply tune to the frequency where it is already playing. You cannot tune halfway. You cannot ask for the station and then stay on static. You have to become a match, and once you match it, the song was always there, you just could not hear it. And this is how manifestation happens in reverse. The result exists before you take the action. The reality is there before you believe you deserve it. The abundance is already in the field before you see it in your bank account, but you will not experience it until you match it. And this is where your mind fights you, because it has been trained in cause and effect. It believes you need proof before belief, but in the quantum, belief comes before proof. And this is the hardest switch for most people to make, because it means letting go of the old survival wiring that says, I will feel safe when I see it, I will trust when it arrives, I will relax when the evidence shows up. The quantum field works on the opposite law. I will see it when I believe it, I will receive it when I become it, I will experience it when I embody it. And that embodiment is not about perfection, it is about consistency. You do not have to hold the frequency every second, you just have to return to it more often than you leave it, because each time you return you are stabilizing the signal, and once the signal is stable, reality bends fast. And this is why so many people who finally drop the struggle suddenly experience what they have been chasing for years, because the field is not waiting to give it to you, it is waiting for you to stop pushing it away. When you understand that the field is not linear, you stop measuring time in the same way, you stop thinking in terms of how long will it take, and you start thinking in terms of how fast can I match it, because the speed of manifestation is not measured in days or years, it is measured in alignment, and alignment can happen in a second. The only reason it takes longer is because you keep stepping in and out of the state, you keep checking if it's working, you keep doubting, and every time you do that, you send the opposite signal to the field. Imagine you are pulling a bowstring aiming for your target, but every few seconds you let go and check if the arrow is ready to fly. The arrow never gets released, you keep resetting the process, and this is what most people do with their manifestations. They set the frequency, then they drop it, then they pick it up again, then they question it, then they compare it to someone else's progress, and each time they do, they are not just pausing, they are reversing the signal. This is why quantum manifestation is as much about letting go as it is about tuning in. You have to allow the arrow to fly, and trust that it will reach its mark without your constant interference. The backwards nature of this means that you have to behave as if it's done before you can see that it's done, and this is not about acting for the outside world. It is about convincing your nervous system that it is already true, because your nervous system is the interface between you and the field. When you feel safe, when you feel certain, when you feel grounded, the field mirrors stability. When you feel desperate, when you feel tense, when you feel lack, the field mirrors chaos. So the fastest way to quantum speed your manifestation is to regulate your state first, and then maintain it even when there is no evidence yet. The absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence. It is simply the gap between tuning and receiving, and that gap closes faster when you stop measuring it. Think about the last time something you wanted seemed impossible, and then suddenly it showed up in the strangest, most effortless way. You probably noticed that it happened when you stopped obsessing over it. Maybe you were busy, maybe you were happy about something else, maybe you just let it be, and that is when the quantum field could deliver, because you finally stopped scrambling the signal. This is also why gratitude is such a powerful tool in manifestation, not because it makes you nice or spiritual, but because it puts your body into the state of already having, and when you feel that now, the field mirrors it now. Quantum manifestation works backwards because it assumes the reality is already here, and when your system acts like it's already here, the field aligns faster than logic can explain. And here is the part that blows people's minds. You do not have to know the how. In fact, trying to figure out the how usually slows it down, because the how belongs to the linear world, but the what and the who belong to the quantum. When you become the who, the field will arrange the how without your conscious control. Think of it like a GPS. You set the destination, you do not have to design the road system, you simply hold the destination, and the system reroutes you as needed, no matter where you are starting from. But if you keep changing the destination every 5 minutes, you will never arrive. The backwards way to manifest is to pick the state of the person who has the result, and then live in that state as much as possible, not just in meditation, not just when you visualize, but in small everyday moments, in the way you speak, the way you walk, the way you choose, in the way you respond to challenges, because every micro-choice is a broadcast to the field saying this is my reality, and the field is always listening. The question is not if it's listening, the question is what are you telling it? And most people are telling it I do not have it yet, I am waiting for it, I am trying to get it, and so the field keeps mirroring the experience of trying and waiting, because that is the signal being sent. The most magnetic signal you can send is I am already it, I am already here, and the more you stabilize that, the more the field bends. And here is another secret: when you manifest backwards, it feels less like chasing and more like remembering, because deep down some part of you knows this. Reality already exists, and when it arrives, it feels natural, not shocking. You say of course instead of I can't believe it, because in your frequency, you had already lived it 1,000 times before it showed up. The remembering part is important, because it explains why certain manifestations feel effortless, and others feel like a constant uphill climb. The ones that feel effortless are the ones your subconscious already accepts as possible and familiar, and in the quantum, familiar equals fast, unfamiliar equals resistance. This is why upgrading your self-image is actually the core of backwards manifestation, because your self-image is the filter that decides which realities feel natural to you, and which feel impossible. If your current self-image says I am always struggling with money, then even if you visualize wealth for hours a day, your nervous system will reject it because it feels unsafe and unrealistic. The field will read that rejection as the true signal and match it. This is why so many people think manifestation does not work for them. They are trying to install a new reality on top of an old identity without changing the foundation. Backwards manifestation says become the identity first. Let the identity be so congruent that your external reality has no choice but to reorganize to match it. And the fastest way to do that is not to fight the old identity, but to stop feeding it. Every time you repeat the old story, you reinforce the old self. And every time you reinforce the old self, you strengthen the signal of the old reality. So the work is not to force yourself to believe something you do not believe yet. It is to stop rehearsing the version you no longer want to be. This can be as simple as catching yourself when you start saying things like I always have bad luck, or I'm just not good at relationships, or I can't afford that. Every sentence is a broadcast, every thought is a transmission, and when you understand that, you begin to treat your inner dialogue as sacred space, not in a perfectionist way, but in an intentional way. This is where awareness becomes the bridge to the quantum, because the moment you notice the old broadcast, you have the power to choose a new one without judgment, without overthinking, simply shifting the tone. This is also why the backwards method works so fast when you truly commit to it, because you are not trying to force change through effort. You are removing the static that was blocking the signal all along. It is like clearing a foggy window, so the view is instantly clear, not because the outside changed, but because the lens did. And once your lens is clear, you start to notice the smallest synchronicities lining up in your favor. Things that used to feel random start to feel intentional. Opportunities that seemed out of reach start showing up in casual conversations. Solutions appear in unexpected ways. And because you are living in the state of the version who already has it, you naturally take the actions that align with that version without even thinking about it. You make the call, you introduce yourself, you say yes to something you would have ignored before, and each of those actions is not just a cause, it is also an effect. It is the quantum echo of your chosen identity, and the more echoes you generate, the more stable your new reality becomes. This is why the backwards method is not about sitting on your couch and waiting for magic. It is about embodying your chosen reality so deeply that magic becomes the natural outcome, not the rare event. And because you are no longer chasing, you are no longer sending out the signal of lack. Your energy feels open, spacious, magnetic. People feel it, opportunities feel it, the field feels it, and it responds quickly and cleanly, without the detours created by doubt and control. Control is actually one of the biggest obstacles to quantum speed, because control is based in fear. It is the belief that if I do not manage every detail, it will not happen. But in the quantum, the details are not yours to manage, they belong to the field. Your role is to set the state and hold it, and the field will handle the assembly. This is why backwards manifestation feels lighter. You are carrying less weight, not because you are lazy, but because you have learned the difference between your job and the field's job. Your job is the state, the field's job is the structure, your job is the frequency, the field's job is the form, and when you respect that division of labor, things move fast, very fast, faster than your logical mind can plan. And here is where most people get tripped up. They think they are holding the state, but in reality, they are holding the wanting of the state, which is completely different. Wanting says I do not have it yet. Wanting sends a signal of distance between you and the reality you are asking for. Having says I am it now. Having collapses that distance. In the quantum this is everything, because distance is delay, and delay is not about time. It is about vibration. When you are in the state of having, the frequency is already a match, so the field can respond instantly. When you are in the state of wanting, the frequency is mismatched, so the field reflects more wanting. This is why backwards manifestation trains you to act, feel, and think from the reality that is already yours, even before the evidence shows up. Because in the quantum the evidence does not create the state creates the evidence. Think of it like a mirror. If you smile, the mirror smiles back. If you frown, the mirror frowns back. The mirror does not decide to give you a smile first to see if you will smile in return. It simply reflects what is there. The field is the same. It reflects your current coherence, not your potential coherence, not your future coherence, your now coherence. This is why the phrase act as if works, but only if you actually feel it. Not if you are just pretending to feel it. Pretending creates friction, because your mind knows you are faking, and that friction is static. The backwards method removes the need for pretending because it is not about acting, it is about being. The more you are, the less you need to prove, and the less you need to prove, the more stable your signal becomes. This stability is what bends timelines and collapses probabilities in your favor, because the field loves consistency. Consistency tells the field this is safe, this is familiar, this is stable, and the field will always match stability before novelty. So if your signal is constantly changing based on circumstances, your results will constantly change too. But if your signal is unwavering, circumstances have no choice but to catch up. This is also why backwards manifestation can feel so supernatural at first, because you start to notice that reality is not reacting to your hustle, it is reacting to your harmony. The more harmonious you are, the faster things line up. It is almost like the field is waiting for you to stop sprinting, so it can hand you the map, and once you see this, you start to relax into the process, not because you are giving up, but because you are tuning in, and when you are tuned in, the right moves happen naturally. You do not need to think 10 steps ahead, because the next step reveals itself at exactly the right time. This is the paradox. The less you try to manipulate the future, the more precisely it unfolds in your favor. Because the future is not being created out there, it is being created right here, in your present state. So if you want a different future, you do not go chasing it, you anchor a different present. This is why I call it backwards, because it feels like you are starting at the end, but you are really starting at the only point that exists, now. And when you start in now, you start in power, and from that power, every version of you that already has what you desire becomes accessible in the field. You are not building it from scratch. You are aligning with it like tuning a radio station. The station already exists. You just have to match the frequency. The more you practice this, the faster you can switch stations. You can go from scarcity to abundance, from loneliness to love, from confusion to clarity, without external permission, without external evidence, because in the quantum, evidence is the last step, not the first, and this is what makes it so powerful. Once you really get this, you stop asking when will it come, and start asking how can I be it now, and the moment you ask that, the shift begins because your attention moves from chasing to choosing, and choosing is the quantum trigger the field recognizes. Choosing as if the reality is already here, and the field begins reorganizing everything to match it, and here is something that will blow your mind. The reorganization often starts in places you are not even looking. You might feel a sudden pull to call someone you have not spoken to in years, and that conversation leads to a breakthrough you could not have planned. You might get an unexpected offer that shifts your entire timeline in a way your logical mind would never have mapped out. You might notice people leaving your life or situations ending, not as loss but as space, making room for the frequency you are now holding. The field is precise. It does not waste moves. It is like a master chess player who sees 30 steps ahead and moves the smallest piece in a way that sets up the entire win. You do not need to understand how the pieces will fall, you just need to keep your frequency stable. And here is where discipline comes in, not discipline in forcing results, but in holding your state when the external still looks the same, because the old signal may still be playing out in the physical for a while, even after you have shifted internally. This is what most people call the lag, and it is where most people quit. They look at their reality and say, see, nothing has changed, but the field is already reorganizing. It is just that the old energy is still clearing out. This is like turning a huge ship. It does not instantly spin, it gradually aligns with the new direction, but if you panic mid-turn and go back to the old course, you undo the shift. Backwards manifestation requires trust, and this trust is not blind. It is built by small confirmations, the little synchronicities that show you yes, you are on the right track. Yes, the field is responding. These small confirmations are not the goal, they are the feedback, and the more you recognize them, the more they multiply, because your awareness tunes your frequency even tighter to the signal you want to hold. This is why it is essential to train your nervous system to feel safe in the state you are calling in. If abundance feels unsafe to your system, you will unconsciously sabotage it. If love feels unsafe, you will push it away. If visibility feels unsafe, you will dim yourself without realizing it. The backwards method includes making the desired state feel safe, familiar, and normal before it fully arrives. So when it does arrive, your body and mind do not reject it. This is done through embodiment practices, micro-actions, and mental rehearsals that make the state so real inside you that your system cannot tell the difference between imagined and actual, and the field responds to both equally. The quantum does not care if the frequency is coming from something physical or something imagined, it only matches the frequency. This is the secret behind why athletes visualize winning before they compete, why performers rehearse feeling the applause before stepping on stage. They are collapsing the future into the present by making the state real now. When you do this with your own desires, you are playing the same game. You are no longer waiting for life to prove you are abundant, or loved, or free. You are proving it to life, and life mirrors it back faster than you ever thought possible. This is the ultimate reversal of cause and effect. In the quantum, cause is not what you do, cause is what you are. Doing is the echo, being is the origin. Inverting this changes everything because it puts the power back where it always was, in you. You stop chasing outer changes and start generating inner changes that the outer world cannot resist matching. You realize that the external is the last place change happens, not the first, and this alone can save you years of struggle, because you are no longer trying to build reality from the outside in, you are aligning it from the inside out. And when you live like this, the question of when fades away entirely, because you understand that the moment you shift your state, you have already shifted your timeline. And the rest is simply the unfolding, the external catching up to the internal, the echo catching up to the shout. And when you get this, you stop obsessing over signs and start becoming the sign. You stop asking for proof and start living as proof. You stop checking if it is working and start knowing it is working, because your state is unshakable, and in that steadiness, life accelerates like it has been waiting for you to stop wobbling. Every single shift you have ever made that stuck long term happened because you became it first, not because you did more, not because you pushed harder, but because you stabilized the state until the outer could no longer ignore it. And here is the paradox: the less you chase, the faster it arrives, the less you grasp, the quicker it flows, the less you demand, the more the field delivers, because you are not broadcasting need, you are broadcasting having. And having is magnetic in the quantum, because it says this frequency is stable, this frequency is home, this frequency can hold more, and more comes your way without strain, without force, without hustle. This is not passivity, this is precision, the kind of precision that comes from aligning all levels of you, your thoughts, your emotions, your actions, your energy, your environment, all singing the same note. And when that note is steady, reality tunes to it automatically. Backwards manifestation is not just a technique, it is a way of being. It is walking as if your future is already fact. It is speaking as if the reality you desire is already listening. It is breathing as if what you want is already here. And when you live like that, life has no choice but to match you, because in the quantum there is no separation between the signal and the scene. There is no gap between what you are and what you see. There is only resonance matching resonance, and the faster you live in that resonance, the faster your world reshapes around it. You start to notice that the things you used to force now find you. You start to realize that the opportunities you used to chase now show up at your door. You start to understand that manifestation is not about controlling reality. It is about becoming so aligned with your desired reality that the match is inevitable. And when it becomes inevitable, it becomes effortless, not because nothing happens, but because everything that happens is in flow. This is why the backwards method is so powerful. It removes the waiting, removes the hoping, it removes the gap between who you are and what you want. It brings the finish line to the starting point and says, live here now. And when you do, you collapse the distance between dream and day, between vision and visibility, between intention and incarnation. You collapse it because you are no longer projecting the state into the future, you are pulling the future into you. And once you master this, you understand why the quantum responds so fast to those who stop waiting and start being. It is not magic, it is mechanics, it is the physics of frequency and the biology of belief, it is the architecture of reality responding to its own blueprint, you. And when you see that, you never go back, you never again wait for permission to live in the vibration you choose, you never again outsource your frequency to the external, you hold it, you own it, you are it, and reality bows to meet you there. Backwards manifestation is the end of waiting and the beginning of walking in the world as if it is already yours, because in the only place that matters, in the only time that exists, in the now, it already is.